Hello everyone, welcome back to the course on Health Humanities, Indian and Western Medical Knowledge Traditions. This is lecture number 57 on technology, AI and the future of healthcare. In this lecture, I will talk about medical ethics, technology and humanity and how artificial intelligence, cloning and genetic modification play a major role in the healthcare systems. And in this way, I'll focus upon the future of healthcare and bioengineering, where a person's body and my mind are getting transformed, transplanted, as well as transcreated. And we also focus upon how the role of AI, cloning, and genetic modification create miracles and across the moral boundaries. These concerns I'll explore through three novels, two by Kazuo Ishiguro, one Never Let Me Go, which was published in 2005, and the next one, Clara and the Sun, published in 2021. Then I'll be also exploring these concerns through Mary E. Pearson's The Adoration of Jenna Fox, published in 2008. Let us begin with the novel Never Let Me Go. In this novel, uh, Kajugo depicts the story of a dystopian England, and where clones are being raised for the sake of organ donors. And the concern which we find in this novel, that there is no rebellion from society against such a kind of cloning. And we find that clones are produced and harvested for the sake of those people who are in need of some kind of organs. The crucial question arises that one of the characters, her name is Kathy H, and she has become grown up. She want to survive. She want to live in this world, but she also fears that someday her turn will come, and her organs will be reaped, and her organs will be used for other human beings. The question arises, what about her emotions? And what about the ethical concerns? That if Kathy H is able to think and she has developed emotions, she is surviving, then what about her concerns? And this brings the question that what is the role of human clonings, and how far, to what extent human cloning can be taken further. The next novel by Ishiguro is Clara and the Sun. This novel is about the role of artificial intelligence, which is known as artificial friends in the novel. And it is a story about Clara and other artificial friends who are lying in Apple store and ready to be sold. For those rich children who are feeling alone, isolated, they can give them a companion. The novel also depicts the story of those children who are lifted through genetic modification, and it is giving a view about the future, where the children who are lifted, they will be like a higher and superior race, will be having all the information in their mind, and those who are not lifted, they will become the inferior beings. But the concern for this lecture is how Clara becomes an empathic AI caregiver. It depicts the story of a girl named Josie, and who has brought Clara for the sake of her companion. But with the passage of time, when she becomes sick, and her chances of survival becomes very, very less. Then her mother, Clara's mother, wants to actually copy all the memory, all the actions, habits of her daughter Josie, and which can be then transmitted to the humanoid robot Clara. So Clara has been given the task of observing how Josie speaks, how Josie utters certain things, how Josie acts to imitate her emotions and become her. And then her memory will be transferred to the memory of Clara through some kind of medical process. It reveals a very deep anxiety about to what extent this process can be successful, because the elder sister Clara has been died in the process of lifting, and now the process is being followed on Josie, and it also raises a question about that can AI, which is Clara, replace human companionship and care to Josie, or can AI substitute Josie herself? And if Josie dies, then Clara will become Josie. So, who is human being? Is it the body or is it the consciousness? This remains a very complex question in the novel. The third novel, The Adoration of Jenna Fox, it talks about the fatal accident of a near fatal accident of Jenna, but she recovers from it. However, her almost entire brain and body is burnt. Only 10% of the original brain remains, and so her brain and her body is rebuilt through the use of technology, and so which is like the technology is used to actually control her memory. Sorry, technology is used to revive her memory loss, her identity crisis, and her secrets. Technology is used to formulate a world with advanced medicine. But the problem lies that she comes to know that she is being monitored, and everything what she does is controlled by through a computer system. So there are like certain chips in her body which are being controlled by her parents through a computer screen, and this raises existential and ethical questions for Jenna Fox. The use of technology in medicine redefines her life and herself. She asks her parents questions like who is she, and how why she is being monitored, and we find that that once upon a time she goes and breaks all those wires which are controlling her body and her mind. So what about her liberty? What about her autonomy? What about her consent? These questions remain to be answered from the novel. So when we think about the future of healthcare through these novels, we find that cloning and organ harvesting have been promoted through the novel Never Let Me Go. It talks about that when a person is in need of certain organs, for example, heart, kidney, or any other organs, then cloned human beings are produced, and when somebody is needing those organs, so from clones, those the heart or maybe a kidney or some other organs can be reaped and then transplanted to human beings. We find genetic engineering for social advancement in Clara, that there are a number of children who have been modified through socially what to call genetic engineering, and to make them more advanced. We also find that genetic engineering, synthetic body parts, and digital brain mapping in GenaFox. So synthetic synthetic body parts, digital brain mapping are very like a part of now healthcare systems. But how far it can be done, and can it be ethical? So such kind of concerns in the novel raises biopolitical concerns, because healthcare is biopolitically controlled, and the entire focus is upon the utility over the personhood, because what is like useful, the focus is not upon the individual identity, upon the personhood of the patient. We also find in these novels that use of technology defines one's wellness and survival, but these technologies also become the source of data transmission, that data can be transferred to other persons, and privacy and confidentiality can be challenged, and it can be seen as something which is not taken proper care of. We also find in the novel that Clara is an artificial caregiver and observer. In the beginning of the novel, Clara and the son, she is like observing every activities of not only of Josie, but also of all the members who are traveling in the streets, and she is observing from the store where she is kept in. And when Josie becomes sick, she becomes her caregiver. She tries to console her. She goes to the sun and tries to pray the sun that make Josie disease free. She can be cured. So she has developed emotions, empathy, and she can perceive. We find these emotions, empathy, and perceptions in machines. Though AI can be like helpful for elderly and pediatric care, but the only concern is in terms of what you call that how privacy, how confidentiality can be preserved, or how human beings can be preserved. Can AI replace human beings? Can machine replace human beings in the name of treatment and cure? So these are the like ethical questions which are yet to be answered. Then like what about cloning and human rights? What about the human rights of the clones? Because it can raise ethical dilemmas. In the novel Never Let Me Go, Kathy is expecting to survive. She is expecting to live in this world. So what about her human rights? What about the autonomy and personhood of the clones who want to live and survive? What about the autonomy and personhood of the people who are being monitored through AIs? And what about consent? Is like Josie has Josie given her consent? It is her parents who are trying to actually copy her brain and then transfer the information and memory to the robot. What about the consent of GenaFox? Her consent was not taken. When she comes to know, she becomes very, very nervous and angry about her privacy. What about the genetic modifications and social stratification? because the children who are lifted, they are engineered in intelligence, they have more knowledge, they have higher knowledge compared to the other people, and then they build a new kind of meritocracy through genetic design. So like once labor once like labor to study to gain knowledge remains secondary, because one can get all the knowledge only through some kind of genetic modification. And there will be a new class of people, because those who are rich, they will be having a higher level of genetic modifications, and those who are poor, they will be having either no genetic enhancements or lower quality of genetic enhancements. And so we find that genetic modification has created a new kind of social stratification, and this needs to be addressed when we think about the future of healthcare. We also find that medical ethics has been ignored. The dehumanization of medical ethics because of the advancement of technology. In Never Let Me Go, the life has become instrumental, and the idea of soul, the idea of consciousness no longer are given primary importance. The emotional labor of artificial intelligence or artificial friend Clara has been given a secondary importance, and she has to observe, she has to copy and practice it. What about the questions of consent and autonomy? So we find that these medical ethical questions have become secondary, or they are ignored. And so healthcare is stripped of empathy and dignity, and we need to focus upon the redefinition of human beings, redefinition of patients. That is the patient a combination of machine and flesh, or the patient is just consciousness, because the body is replaced by some artificial cloned or maybe human made body. And in this way we find that the medical ethics is in conflict with market logic, because market is producing clones, AIs, and machines which are intervening with human body and making human bodies kind of what what is called that a kind of mix of human and animals, what is known as cyborg. We also find that though that the machines and artificial intelligence give choices, but in reality they provide only illusions, because the clones are not having any choices. They cannot opt out of donations. If their turn comes, then their organs will be ripped. Joshi's family is imposing genetic lifting, and the children are having no choice. Joshi is not having any choice. When she is about to die, then her memory is being copied, and she cannot do anything. So we find that somebody else make healthcare decisions and formulate their consent. And this needs to be critiqued, because it will determine the future of healthcare. We further have questions of like selfhood, devotion, and attachment in the novels. What about the questions of Clara's emotional world? Kathy's emotional world. Kathy knows that her ultimate in days that her organs will be ripped off and it will be transplanted to somebody else. But she want to survive. What about her emotional world? What about Clara's devotion to Josie? She wants to serve her, but cannot since she will be dying soon. And then she has to replace Josie. What about Jenna's controlled selfhood? That her parents are controlling. And these concerns raise bigger questions about biology, about humanity, about emotions, because emotional intelligence in machines and clones determine how they act, but actually they do not possess their own emotional intelligence. And the care which they are provided, which are like fed in them from different sources. And so can care ethics go beyond the human, and human beings are not the concern? We have further questions that what about the faith and hope and irrational aspect of the members who are uh, produced through machines or through artificial intelligence. And for example, like Clara worships sun, and she survives, she gets her energy from sun. So sun is trying to replace, so she has replaced God with sun. And the way like human beings worship God, so she has faith in sun, and sun is providing her energy. And however, the question remains that what kind of hope human beings can have, what kind of spiritual wide human being will create in the time of hyper rational healthcare systems. Because if God is replaced and AI is creating alternative God, that is sun, then it creates spiritual voids in the time of crisis. We also find that AI is participating in rituals. Clara participates, praise the sun to protect Josie. So these are some of the questions which remains to be answered. The problem with machines and technology are that they control and they become part of surveillance, as is the case of Clara, or maybe the case of Jenna Fox. They are always under surveillance and control. And also clones are constantly being monitored. So these kind of concerns lead to a new approach to the use of technology in the healthcare, a new kind of approach to the understanding of machines and their interventions in healthcare systems. In the novel, we find that both Jenna Fox and Josie, they have undergone transformations. For example, both of them have a new kind of physical revivals and physical survivals through machines, through artificial friends. So Jenna is since she met a near fatal accident, and her entire body is burnt. Only her 10% of body and mind is surviving, but her physical survival is based upon the machines. And Josie's emotional continuity is maintained through robot Clara. And this kind of survival and emotional continuity raises question that is physical survival necessary or only emotional continuity necessary? Does body matter or does emotion matters? And there is no such answer to this kind of questions. And we find that these novels navigate a post-biological self. For example, Jenna is navigating her post-biological self, which is only machine-controlled. Maybe in future, Josie's emotions will have to look at the post-biological self. And should artificial intelligence be seen as part of identity? Because they will intervene in human body, human mind, and then it will make human beings act accordingly. And in this way, we find that there is a new kind of spirit, new kind of human spirit amid technological changes, and this will define and control the entire human existence. Let us have one extract from Ishiguro's Clara and the Sun. This is a point where Josie is almost about to die and she is being replaced by Clara. And the doctor Capaldi, who is trying to replace her, says, he tells Clara, you are not being required simply to mimic Josie's outward behavior. You are being asked to continue her for Chrissy and for everyone who loves Josie. Which means the scientist is telling that once you replace Josie, then her task is not just mimic that she's speaking and try to behave like Josie. Rather, you are being asked to continue her for Chrissy, that she has to play the roles of a lady love for Chrissy, because Chrissy was loved by Chrissy was loved by Josie. So she has to emotionally fulfill the needs of Chrissy and everyone else as well. And when the question is raised, is a Josie a body or emotions, or it is combination of both? And then the scientist Capaldi provides a new perspective. He says that our generation still carries the old feeling. A part of us refuses to let go. That it is like old feeling that one is considering that this is a machine intervention. Because we are not able to refuse these things. The part that wants to keep believing there is something unreachable inside each of us, something that is unique and on transfer, but there is nothing like that. We know that now. Over here, the scientist Capaldi says that there is nothing unique about human beings that cannot be replaced. Either it is emotions, or it is flesh, or it is anything else in the body. Here, the scientist provides a new approach to the notion of human beings, and he also exhorts and asks human beings that they need to rethink about themselves from a newer perspective. And what is the relevance of such kind of approach? And we find that the current debates on AI in diagnosis and care are still in the formative phase. And though AI has helped in a very broad way in the healthcare system from COVID till now, however, the ethical aspects needs further consideration. Gene editing, CRISPR, and bioethics remains to be further discussed, because gene editing and uplifting of children will create a new kind of race, a new kind of identity. And is it ethical? Is it moral? What will be then the future of humanity, future of this world, once we have same kind of genetic editing and everyone is of same kind? in terms of their knowledge, in terms of their power, and in terms of their activities. And what if human beings lose their thinking capacity with themselves, and they are only dependent upon genetic editing? What if these genetic editings make certain kind of flaws and they malfunction? How this can be addressed? It also raises the questions about the rise of companion robots for those people who feel lonely. So there are a number of questions about AI and machines which can be addressed in terms of the future of healthcare. When we look at the future of healthcare in the novels, we find that it produces a very highly advanced approach, but they are morally ambiguous. It produces a very new way of life extension, but at the cost of identity. Like, who will be Josie? Who will be the people who are getting organs from clones? Who is Jenna Fox? So the concerns of identity remains very, very specific. And it also talks about healing as re-engineering and medical miracles in terms of personal consequences. And further, the novels raise questions about ethics of medical interventions. How far should we go to preserve life? Should we intervene the artificial intelligence, or machines should be the part of human body? Is it ethical to create new versions of people? What about the concerns of legality and morality? Can technology fully restore and recreate humanity? And probably so far there is no such answer. Though novels have provided a kind imaginary future of healthcare, but such questions remains to be further explored. These novels also raise some philosophical questions, like what does it mean to be human? If, like Jenna is surviving through machines, if Josie is being replaced in the robot, so what does it mean to be human? Who is human? Who decides what lives are worth living? Who can go uplifting? Who cannot go uplifting? Who can survive through machines? And is memory enough, or memory also needs identity? If body is artificial, can self remain real? Because the body of Clara is artificial, and her self is now being implanted from Josie. So what kind of then human being will this be? Can there be a dualism between mind and body, or can this be challenged? Can machines care or love? Should we cure at the cost of others? How do we preserve dignity in innovation? And these are a number of post-human and philosophical questions which needs to be addressed. So to conclude, the future healthcare needs ethical groundings. It highlights that the personal cost of medical progress will lead to the demise of the idea of human beings. And the novels provide a kind of moral guiding and a moral imagination to think about or to reflect over the concept of future of healthcare. The novels also provide that the idea of technological healing needs some moral clarity and ethical aspects And in this way, it needs a balance between progress and compassion. It needs responsibility for and responsibility of the future medical practitioners. Thank you.